Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wellness Spring. And welcome, Mim Beim, to Wellness Spring. It's so lovely to have you here on our show.
Beverly, thank you for inviting me. Excited to be here.
Oh, I feel very honored and blessed, and I'm sure the audience will feel the same when they listen to this chat. For those of you who don't know Mim, she's been practicing naturopathy for over 35 years. And to be honest, she's a celebrity naturopath. She's written 9 books and was a long-term columnist. Can't get my teeth around that, columnist for Sunday Telegraph's Body and Soul, which was almost like a tradition for us, my group of friends. When I lived here, every Sunday, we'd go for a coffee in the afternoon and sit in a cafe and read your column. It was amazing. And she's also written for Sun Herald's Tempo, Good Health and Medicine and Family Circle and lots more. Plus, she helped to create and star in 2 Foxtel series and is a regular on morning television. She was also the Triple J naturopath for 7 years in the early 90s. And I actually used to deliver sandwiches there. My business, my business was called Bev's Busy, Bizzy B's, and sandwiches, like a witch. And it's just amazing. Even though I didn't meet you, like the DJs there were such a hoot. And occasionally they'd give me a plug, but they would always tease me when I went in. It was like, oh my God, who's going to be there today? You know, but did they used to rib you as well?
It was a lot of fun. Yes, actually, who was it? They're going up in that lift. This was in William Street before they moved to Ultimo. And, oh yes, what did they call me? Moonbeam. Yeah, that was kind of, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and you also worked for another 4 years with ABC's Nightlife host, Tony Delroy. And Mim lectures to naturopathic students at Endeavour College. So it's got a very good name here in Australia. She has a thriving practice in the Southern Highlands and also consults online throughout the world. She has a range of therapeutic and delicious herbal teas, which I can't wait to buy. As you all know, I love my teas, darling. And she has one for sleep and absolutely everything. So she's just an amazing, amazing creator. And she's also a fellow of the Naturopaths and Herbalists Association of Australia and a full member of the Australian Society of Authors, which I can't wait to find more about, and also a fellow of the Buteyko Professionals International. And I was blessed to interview, as you know, Mim, Patrick McEwen. I know I pronounce his name wrong. It's a beautiful Irish name. And you actually went to Ireland to America to do your training in the Buteyko method, which we'll talk about later. And you were also honored with the award Excellence in Practice, Naturopathy and Herbal Medicine by Bioceuticals Integrative Medicine Awards. I used to use their products in my health and well-being center for years. I absolutely love them because I think they're very good quality and integrity, and they do all the necessary tests and things like that. So I was delighted when I read on your website about this award and things like that. So could you please tell the audience a bit about your background, you know, from childhood, your upbringing, education, siblings, and so forth, and what led you to be this amazing creator you are today?
Oh, Beverly, you're very sweet, very kind. It's a build-up. Thank you. Well, yeah, I am very blessed to be in a career that's just I love, and I'm always learning. And I mean, it's yeah. So I count myself very, very fortunate to be here, doing what I love and helping people. I actually did an economics degree after school and went to Sydney University, and trained. Then I trained as an accountant with one of the chartered accounting firms. And I can always remember, about a year in, I decided I had then just discovered naturopathy. This was in the late 70s, early 80s. I'd never heard of naturopathy, and so I found a book. I'm actually looking at it now. Actually, I'll just go and get it. It's How to Get Well by Parvo Arola, and I've kept this book. And I remember, I think I got it at Sydney Uni. God knows why it was there. And it was just like, oh, wow. And then I realized that you could actually study this. So I decided that I wasn't a great auditor. And in fact, I can remember going to my manager and saying to him, Sean, I think I might leave. And he said, oh, thank goodness. Because I clearly was not that gifted as an auditor. So I actually left, and then I became an aerobic instructor back in the day, Beverly, that you may remember, with Lycra, Lycra G-strings, and it was before the Les Mills days where everything, so you had to record your own music, and so I was a little bit extreme, but had a ball. And so I taught aerobics while I studied naturopathy. Going
back to the aerobics, I was one of those. I was nicknamed, Jane Fonda II, and also on that TV show, Absolutely Fabulous. I used to love those Lycra pants and wear them with absolutely everything. It was such a hoot.
Yes, it was edgy at the time, but now you kind of cringe. And goodness knows how we got around with all that Lycra, I don't know. But it was fun. And so yeah, I just fell in love with it. And then I started work for Blackmores when I first graduated. And that was fantastic. That was actually, and Beverly, you were talking about bioceuticals because Blackmores bought bioceuticals a few years ago. And they are a really good company, and everyone who works there, they look after their staff really well. And but I'm not really a great employee. So I then branched out, and I've been very, very fortunate to have a very busy practice. So I had at my clinic, I had it in a few places, but then for about 15 years in the Strand Arcade in the city, which I loved. That was beautiful. I had these, looked over Pitt Street Mall, if anyone's been there, and these gorgeous arched windows. And I was next to a milliner, and he'd taken over his mother's business. So he had his ladies there, and he wouldn't let anyone watch his ladies work. Except for every now and then he dragged me in and put on a hat, and clearly I'm not really a hat kind of girl, but yeah, so they were great times as well. So yeah, and then I'm writing books and so on. But and now and Beverly, this is how you got to know about me, that I still have a busy naturopathic practice. I guess it's a big part of my work, but I'm also really, really interested in the effects of breathing on people's health. And so, yes, in 2011, I went to the States to do a 10-day workshop with Patrick McEwen, and that transformed my life. And luckily people are now realizing, because it's like, I'd be going and saying, I teach breathing, and people going, oh, wow, I'm alive, I must be okay. And it's like, well, it's more than that. But now, you're interested, there's a lot of people interested in and seeing that, the breathing, dysfunctional breathing, the effects of dysfunctional breathing. And so retraining people's breathing style, it's just fascinating. So there's, it's always learning. It's wonderful.
Yeah. Can you explain further how it has transformed your life? In what way?
Yeah, I guess just that. Oh, well, okay. One big thing was I'm someone who, I guess, well, you wanted to know about my childhood, and I was, I guess, fortunate, but also I had a very unhappy childhood and a lot of stress and depression, looking back, anxiety and stress and depression. And that's always been a part of me and something that I've had, lots of therapy for, and always known that that's, I guess, my Achilles heel. And so, okay, so I'd have done Vipassana. You know about Vipassana, the 10-day meditation retreat. So I've done four of those. And they're those 10-day retreats. Have you done one, Beverly?
Yes, in the Blue Mountains. I loved it.
Yes.
I could get addicted to that. Yeah.
I couldn't. It's but it's pretty special, and that changed my life as well. So for those who don't know, for those who don't know, the Vipassana actually is the meditation style that apparently Buddha taught, but it is also the name of retreats, and they are all around the world, and we're blessed to have a few in Australia, and I guess the major one in the Blue Mountains. And so when I first did that, so it's 10 days. It's actually 12 days. You go in one day, and then there's 10 days of silent meditation. So you don't speak, you don't read, you don't you don't have eye contact with people. So it's completely silent, and you get up at 4:30 in the morning and you meditate for 10 hours a day. And it is, it's grueling, I think, but also amazing. So for me, it took me 6 days to kind of really get it. And I can remember, because I was the person who used to go to yoga classes and walk out when they did the Shavasana. I just couldn't be still. So, and for those who don't do yoga, that's the lying down at the end, and everyone loves that bit, and they go, oh, thank goodness, I can rest, I can relax. And it's just like, no, other things, people to see, places to go, see you later. Very uncool to walk out at that time. But it was in Vipassana that I first got that sense of peace, and that moment of being totally in the present and at peace. The next time I felt that was when I did Patrick's course, and I thought, okay, I've got it. And I do believe it is actually about the breath and the state it can bring you. So when you meditate, your breathing will change. But what I guess I like about teaching the Buteyko, because for a lot of people doing Vipassana, for example, that's a big call. That's a big, big call to ask someone to give 10 days over. And the idea of not talking, for a lot of people is quite daunting. Yeah. So in a way, you can achieve the same things with this breathing technique.
Yeah. I usually say to people, start off slowly and maybe try it for one night or a weekend, and then try the 10 days, just build yourself up to it. But Charlie Morley, he's a specialist in, I forgot the name, the dreaming, the nighttime dreaming. And he said it's not naturally lived with monks. And he said it's not natural, it's not our inherent nature to be silent for that length of time, because it's our innate nature to be social. However, I think if you'd like to give yourself a personal challenge, because I was like you, I was manic, I was doing aerobics and every gym class you can think of, and swimming and dancing, and I wasn't anyone that would sit down. And I got in, a friend took me to Qigong, and I thought, oh no, it'll be too boring and too slow, but I just found that amazing, and I think that was a step for me to slowing down, because I never wanted to do yoga and now I practice every day. But, you know, I think things happen in our lives, and at different turning points in our life, we're led to different therapies. And I've taught breath work for years, you know, because meditation comes naturally. And I used to tell people flock to me, and I used to tell them, my mother said as a child, little stories just to keep everybody calm. I think my mother used to say, tell them a story, because we came from a big family. And then I would always, you know, get people breathing and relaxing. And I just intuitively found that when you focus on your breathing, that everything slows down. And obviously with Patrick, he only focuses on nasal breathing, which stimulates the parasympathetic nerves and calms things down, as opposed to mouth breathing, which, as in Patrick's words, does absolutely nothing for breathing. Can you tell the listeners, how do you incorporate that into your naturopathy business?
Well, I'll always, there are various signs that someone's got dysfunctional breathing. And that's definitely if they are a mouth breather, if their mouth is open day or night when they're not speaking or talking or eating and so on. Other signs of dysfunctional breathing can be yawning or sniffing or sighing. So these are not, you know, problems, but then there are some conditions such as asthma, even reflux, headaches, certain bowel conditions that may be related to dysfunctional breathing. So I'll see what, you know, anxiety, particularly sleep apnea is another one, snoring. So I'll see whether or not their breathing is impacting on their health. And very often it's multifactorial. There are several things going on. But, you know, if breathing can help, then that's amazing. So because, you know, although I treat with herbs and supplements and dietary changes, breathing is the most fundamental of all medicines.
Yeah, without life.
And so if I can help, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, without breath, we're dead. So, you know, it always amazes me that people invest in business trainers, personal trainers for their body, but they don't invest freely unless something dire is happening in their life to breath work.
That's right. And you know, some people instinctively know that their breathing isn't right. I had a fellow ring me yesterday and he said, oh, whenever I'm working on the computer, I just stop breathing. And that's actually called screen apnea.
Oh.
And so that's already, it has a name.
Wow.
And he snores and he has got sleep apnea. So it's clear that his breathing is dysfunctional. And the Buteyko method retrains, it basically changes the respiratory center in the brain so that once that's changed, you're changed. So that brings me back to, Beverly, what you asked, what changed when I went to the States to study with Patrick, was then it reminded me of how I felt doing Vipassana. And then, so I trained in 2011 in Los Angeles with Patrick. And then a few years later, I had then opened up another clinic in Sydney. And there was a fair bit of stress in my life, but I can remember I opened this, it was 2016, I think. And the first day I opened the clinic, I had 6 patients in a row. And then I had a lecture to give at Sydney University at the Women's College for 150 people. And then after that, I had an exam I was doing a Master's of Nutrition. So I went and did my exam. And so I think my patients were okay. I think the talk went well and I did well in the exam. And I can remember thinking at the end of the day that it was a really pleasant day and I'd enjoyed it. And then I thought, you know what, a few years ago, I wouldn't have slept the night before. I would have, you know, not enjoyed the day. I would have been rushing through it to get to the end of it. And the only thing that had changed was that I had focused more, over the last 2 or 3 years, my breathing had been different. And so my whole nervous system had obviously changed. And I realized that. And although, you know, there are still stresses and things like that, my response is so much different. And the only thing is the change in breathing.
Wow, that's incredible. And I felt exhausted listening to what you did all day. That's really cramming things and to be mentally alert and to do a major exam at the end of your super busy day. Can you, because people love stories, and thank you for sharing your upbringing, can you explain in simple words what naturopathy is?
Yeah, sure, because it is a little bit confusing and it is a little bit different for every naturopath. It's a bit of a coverall phrase or an umbrella term. When I did naturopathy, I did 4 years of massage, I did 4 years of homeopathy, I did 4 years of nutrition, and I did 4 years of herbs. So I was, you know, came out with all of those modalities, what we call modalities. And ultimately, I don't think you can, I couldn't be good at all. So now I focus on herbs and nutrition and the breathing. So I don't, although I am a homeopath and although I study massage, I no longer, you know, think that I'd be any good at them. So each naturopath will probably have their focus, but generally out of the colleges nowadays, homeopathy is no longer taught, unfortunately, and massage is no longer taught. But your naturopath should be qualified in herbal medicine and nutrition, and there may be one or two other things that they focus on, but those two things will be, so they will know quite a lot about diet. And in fact, it's a really intense course. So I've been teaching at both the colleges, and they're both very good. These are the major colleges in Australia, and they're both degree now. So it's a very different, you know, it was never easy, but it's quite a difficult. I'm so sorry. I should have had that. It's a very intense course nowadays, and they need to go through that to be quite well qualified. So yeah, everyone will have a bit of a different focus, and now I'm noticing that people are specializing. So there'll be people who are gut focused, there'll be people who are interested in pregnancy, there'll be people that are interested in mental health. So that's interesting too, what's happening with that field, because when I started, you know, there was a handful of us, and now it's quite a profession.
Oh yes, that was going to be one of my questions. How has it changed over the years? And you know, everything is focused now, and everything is about having your degrees and your certificates. And I was going to ask you how you juggle your day, because you do so many different things. What's the secret to that?
I think it's smoke and mirrors, definitely. I don't. Look, I think I've always liked having a number of things and different areas. You know, it's good. I try to, like you know, do yoga, and I've got, you know, my animals. So I really know what I need to do to be mentally well and happy, because if I'm not happy, nothing's going to work. So it's great. And I mean, now with Zoom, you know, here we are having this conversation, whereas a few years ago, I suppose I would have had to, you know, travel a couple of hours to see you and then a couple of hours back, and now things are easy. So yeah, I see people in you know, Dubai and Riyadh and the UK and America, Canada, everywhere. It's fantastic. Yeah, Jerusalem the other day.
Wow.
It's great.
Can you talk us through, yes, that is great. And can you talk us through a typical session with you? It's probably tailor-made.
Yeah.
Just so that people get an idea of what to
expect.
Yeah,
no, absolutely, because I think people don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
All right. So generally, people will come with a condition or something that's bugging them. So it's the headaches, it's the hot flushes of menopause, it's the bowel, you know, constipation. It's, you know, there'll be a problem, and you know what? Often it's a problem that they've been to with doctors, and the doctors it hasn't been able to. And it's not because I absolutely like working with doctors, and I've got this, I've now kind of trained up a number in the area, and because we've got such good skill sets that join, but the doctors are they're looking for a disease, not necessarily discomfort, or, so they're looking for something to treat with drugs or surgery. And it's got to be kind of like, it's got to be that where we're looking at, the doctors will say there's nothing wrong with you, i.e. there's nothing seriously wrong with you, but your life is still impacted. And so that's, I think, the area of naturopathy that we're, looking at improving people's sense of feeling well. So that's generally people are coming with a condition. Now, I would like to see their blood tests. I'm really interested in that. What we're looking at is, there's a reference range, and for the doctors, if it's out of that reference range, it'll be, you've got an issue here. But we're looking at, where are you in that reference range? Is it ideal? Are you heading towards a particular, thyroid's one? There's a number of that you're just looking at, and we can kind of also see there's, is this person getting adequate protein? There's various things I'm looking at. So I will always be very keen to have someone's blood tests. I will also, if I've got them in person, look in their eye, iridology, and it's an hour's consultation. So in that time, I initially take up what's wrong with you, when did it start, what makes it worse. So I get all the information I can about the actual complaint. And then from there, I'll be kind of thinking, could this be thyroid? Could this be, what is driving this? We always want to get to the cause. Yes, I want to make the person feel better, so I'll give symptom relief if that's required. But more to the point, I don't want you to have that anymore. So we're going to go to the cause so that this is no longer an issue, if that's possible. So I'll go at an example would be, say, psoriasis or a thyroid problem. Is it autoimmune? So then that gives me a big clue. I need to modulate the immune system as well as helping with the symptoms. So, is it a nutritional deficiency? How can we do that with diet first? But if they need supplements, that, if we need supplements or herbs, that is medicine. And so, if you need medicine, you need it for a certain amount of time. And I try not to, and this is, I guess, I do cringe a little bit because I think a lot of naturopaths prescribe a lot of herbs, a lot of supplements when, it's very expensive. And it's better, let's see if a lifestyle thing, the breathing, for example, something that we can put in first. And then if we need the medicine, we do that. And it's for a limited amount of time. So it's a lot of listening. Sometimes people halfway through, they'll just be talking about their relationship or their, and they'll be in tears, and then they'll say, oh no, I'm sorry, I've tried. It's just like, no, you did that and I'll be assessing, I'll be kind of going, is this relevant, but how important is this? And it may be that then we go, okay, well, the stress of this is actually what's really impacting you at the moment. Let us deal with this. So then it could be, do we need to have a good therapist? Do we, what things do we, like the yoga, like maybe Vipassana, every now and then I will prescribe that. That's not that often, but sometimes, even though they came in for their blah, blah, this is front and center, and it's going to be impacting the blah, blah. So that's I love the consultations because it's very much this kind of, it's so interesting. People are so amazing, and they'll tell you, and I really trust that people, and you'd be one of these, definitely, you're very in touch with your body, and that, if the doctor will say, they'll say, I feel it's this. And I mean, of course I'll be critical about that. Or, but if someone has a sense of what's wrong with them, I'll go with that first. So yeah, it's such a privilege to be invited into people's lives, and intimately. I mean, I've now had patients 34 years.
Wow.
So you kind of, yeah. It's really amazing to be with someone through their journeys. I mean, that sounds a cliche, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it is. You are part of their journey. And I was going to ask you, do you think that a lot of the physical symptoms are stress related?
You remember Louise Hayes?
Yes, I'm a big fan.
Yes.
Still, even
Yeah,
though
I
it's
am too.
transcended. Yeah.
I know. Yes, yeah. I am a big fan too. And I do, I absolutely do believe that I'm just smiling because just prior, I had a consultation with someone in Queensland and she's got a frozen shoulder. And you know, I just said, oh, look, I'll just look up Louise.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's burden, carrying the burdens. And it's just like, yes.
Yeah.
You know, it's absolutely describe what she's been going through. And so it sounds simplistic and it can be a bit trite. And I mean, the classic is cystitis or UTI and being pissed off. I absolutely see that so often. But so I think that that's really useful. Of course, you treat the symptom. You know, you treat that you don't not treat the UTI.
Exactly.
But it's just like let's have a look here and see if there's something else going on. You know, why is this happening so often?
Yeah, that's great. Can you give us an example of a success story, obviously without saying a client's name?
Gosh,
you've probably got
yeah, well, this morning.
Isolate.
Oh well, I mean that's what I mean. I really. There's something. I guess it's a bit ego, but it's also really fulfilling. It's really fulfilling to kind of, and I think that that's what I really enjoy being this dinosaur, is that I've got, you know, like things are changing and it's amazing and it's very, very technical nowadays and all the pathways and it's like, but sometimes it's good to go back and kind of like the simple things and things that may be more intuitive. So, you know, I enjoy that I can kind of have that experience to kind of do, you know, go with the latest supplements, which they're amazing things nowadays. But I guess, I mean, I have got this it was a gorgeous girl this morning. She's 22 and she's been seeing, this is almost a year now, and she's a teaches, there's not acrobatics. What is it when you teach the kids?
Gymnastics.
Yeah, she's a gymnastic teacher. So, and gorgeous girl. And she came to me and she looked like a ghost the first time I saw her, and really dark, you know, dark circles, and she's totally fatigued. I don't know how she kept on teaching the gymnastics, but she did. And she came, and it's really interesting when you see someone for the first time and they're ill and you don't know what they look like when they're not. So this morning, there was a 9 o'clock consultation I had with her, and it was Zoom, but still, she just was a different girl. And her hair had been falling out, and I could see this hair today. It was just like this, you know, huge thing that took up the screen. It was amazing. I said, you've got to stop that. So I could see why, you know, of course everyone's going to, you know, hair is important for everyone, except for me, which I don't have any. But but you know, so 22, no energy at all. So she'd do her job and then she'd just sleep. And so she had no energy. Concentration was poor and her hair was falling out. And she felt the cold. So luckily I'm working with a doctor in the area. So, you know, he knew, and he was giving her oroxine, which is a thyroid medication, but it still wasn't working because it was autoimmune. Because, and sometimes the oroxine, which is the thyroid hormone, a synthetic version, doesn't convert properly. And that's what was happening with her. So you know, there's various, you know, vitamin D, selenium, zinc, all of these things help with the conversion. So in her case, I did need to supplement, also modulating the immune system. And yeah, will get the results. Already her blood tests are improving a lot, but more to the point, she's so I think my next consultation will be the last. And she's, so that's an example. So I guess that was a more obvious one, but kind of take out what's not working and use supplements. So hopefully, eventually, it will just be with diet with her. But at the moment, we're still needing supplements.
Right. So my next question was going to lead up, because you mentioned diet, that you try to do that first. It's like Hippocrates. Yeah, I can't get my words out today. Says food is thy medicine, and let medicine be thy food. So do you have special diets? I tried to buy one of your books online about food, and it said it wasn't in stock anymore on Amazon.
Yes, a lot of them are out of, Well, I can send you a PDF though, if you'd like.
Okay.
Yes, well, actually, I'll divulge another bit of my history. When I was a teenager, I had anorexia and bulimia.
Okay.
And so, and it was before they were really, well known. So it was just a really effective diet. And I think in truth that probably sparked my interest, because I was fascinated by food. I just didn't want to eat it. So I am wary of strict diets because I think a lot of women particularly have disordered eating. And I think it's hard for women not to in our society. I think it's quite, and I don't think naturopaths are doing any favors by going on. It's like this now called orthorexia, that people are eating kind of, it's almost, I don't know. Sorry, I'm not making much sense, Beverly. I've just also, because I've been around for so long, I see these cycles, and now veganism's coming back. And that was big when I started. And I was a vegan. I was a vegan for 7 years. And I think, there's lots of good reasons to be a vegan, I think, for the planet, but it's a really hard call. It's really easy to become deficient in B12, in zinc, iron. It's just, and people do this because it's trendy. And they don't know what they're doing. And so basically I say, take the chop off their plate and don't, to be a vegan, you've got to know about legumes. You've got to know, you've got to work very hard to be nutritionally replete.
Yeah, I've been.
And so
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're doing it well, obviously.
Yeah, I know a lot about it. And for various reasons, I became a vegan. And you could do an hour's talk on it and more. So we'll keep moving on. But yeah, there are ways of being a healthy vegan.
There are. But what are your thoughts on this? Do you see people who don't know what they're doing?
Oh, absolutely. There's so many fad diets, and veganism has been very trendy lately. People will go, all right for you because your body's used to it now. And I'm like, well, take a look at what you're eating. And for me, it wasn't only about just diet. And I think going to Vipassana retreats, and I did lots of works with Buddhist retreats, and everything was vegan. And it was lovely, but it's all about a lifestyle. It's about, look at your lifestyle. You've got to cut out caffeine and smoking and drugs and alcohol, or at least limit all those things that I've mentioned. Respect for yourself and respect for others, and look after your body. Your body's a temple. It's the only one you're going to get in this lifetime. So you have to love and nurture and nourish it as if it is a temple, So this is how I normally reply to people. And your thoughts, like Louise Hay said, we get over 70,000 thoughts a day, and most of them are negative, and most of them are the same, going round and round and round. So you can be in control of your driver's seat. And I found with various breathing techniques, it will slow your thoughts down, and you can become aware of your thoughts. And instead of engaging with your thoughts, I just simply say acknowledge, 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 and they'll be there later, because they're going to come back unless you actively do something about it. So, yeah.
mm, mm.
But there are different strokes for different folks. I think we're all different body types, and you will
Absolutely.
find that
And that is what,
consultation.
yeah, and that's what I hope to bring my patient to. Because no one actually knows what the right diet is. Like every year, even less than that, there's the latest and the greatest. And it's just like, whoa, it went from Buteyko to keto to, it's what's right for that person.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to get to. And it takes a trust, and it takes, so I don't think there is one diet that's right. And the thing like breakfast, who said we had to? If people don't feel hungry,
Yeah.
don't, so it's just taking away the do's and the don'ts and the but clearly things like processed sugar, and that there are some obvious things, but it is about finding what's right for that person.
Yeah. I love the titles that you've given for all your books, and health and happiness and nutrition for slobs. That really made me smile, because
well, after that I decided that I wasn't going to choose titles anymore. So yeah.
I think it's great, it stands out, so I'm sure a lot of people would have bought that book, but again, do they want to walk out of the shop with nutrition for slobs? So it's that image factor, because everybody's coming, well, many people come from an egoic state of mind, so it's like they're going to be seen with their Ferrari or their beautiful sports car or whatever car, and their designer clothes, and they want to be seen with a trendy title book, and that looks good for the image. So, but tell us how you got into your writing journey, because obviously the articles that I read in the newspapers, and you did so many articles, and I think, for me, I was like, wow, this is wonderful, because you're bringing awareness to natural holistic therapies to the world. And I was so happy that you've been on so many TV shows and radios and top newspapers and things like that. That must have made a big difference to your business as well.
Well, yes and no. I think had I been business savvy in a day, I could have capitalized on it. But it's interesting. Things have changed a lot, and they're the influencers now. And I kind of am not. It's not. It doesn't suit my personality or something. I can't. I don't want to be that shiny. And I don't know. I think I'm just very cynical. But the that book, The Nutrition for Slobs, that was actually dedicated to this gorgeous publisher at ABC called Stuart, and he at the time was drinking a carton of beer every night, and he commissioned that book. But he's not. He's completely different now. But yeah, I do enjoy writing. I quite enjoy. I still like writing, condensing the science into more user-friendly kind of words. I think that's what I like doing, and making it. And that's what I like to do in a consultation, and also in the breathing course, is explain why in language that the person can understand. So, why are we doing this? And that's always a big part of the consultation. Why am I taking this food, your beloved bit of the thing that you love, away from you? It's because blah, 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 blah. So, people understand.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, because, it's words for the people. You're talking to the people's heart, you're talking their language, you're simplifying it so people can understand, because instead of just being told you need to take this away, they can relate to this is what this is doing to my body, so now I need to change it. And I always say to people, with the vegan diet, notice when you're hungry and listen to your body, and notice whatever you're eating, if you need to go to sleep after it, or you feel heavy and lethargic. So like you said, we're all individuals, but now it's time to slow down and listen to your body and see what your food is doing to you. And we're in a world that everybody wants science-based, so it's good that you explain it simply and then put the science into it. So that's really wonderful. And
yeah.
carry on.
No, it's just, it is interesting. It was all science-based and show me the study. And I think there's a place for both. I think there's a place for experience and, history of a treatment or something like that. But also, it is important, I think, that we are able to explain it, though, scientifically. And I do like that. So the acid-alkaline concept has been around for a long, long time. And I remember being very interested in it, but it kind of didn't, it's only in the last 15 years that it's really been scientifically put out there. And it's just like, wow, that so makes sense. And some of the old recommendations are not right. Now we know. So that's the kind of thing that I really like, oh yeah, it's making sense of that theory, but now we've got all of the information that explains how it happens in the body.
Fantastic. And tell us more about your teas, because teas can be used as medicine as well.
Yes, they can. They're one of the oldest medicines, in fact. Well, as I mentioned, I was in the Strand Arcade and I had my practice there, and I love tea. I like, Assam tea. And so I used to go over and have a cup of tea, and the owners of the tea centre, if anyone knows, I think they've sold on to new owners now, but they were there and they knew what I did, and they said, can you make some herbal teas for our range? And so that started it. And it was really interesting. It took a long time to come up with, because I knew the herbs that I wanted, but then I realized that in a combination in a tea, they tasted terrible. So I needed to come up with the right herbs that tasted good. So that's what took the time. And so, it was Australian grown, organic where possible. And I started with a small range, then I went up to 18, which was a bit ridiculous, but down to 6. And they're, so they really are popular, and I like to think that they're therapeutic, but they're not. So even children, even pregnant women can drink them because they're not too strong, but they are therapeutic.
Do you want to give a few of the names and why you chose?
Oh, thanks. Okay. Nighty Night. There's Nighty Night. It's got the slow Californian poppy and hops and passion flower. So and valerian. So people just think of chamomile, but that's not such a strong herb for sleep. It's a good herb, but there are others that are, I think, a bit more therapeutic. And I've got Digestivo, which is one for the gut, things like reflux or IBS. But what's also really interesting, and now we know that the gut makes more serotonin, that calming neurotransmitter, than the brain. But historically, all the gut herbs are also calming herbs. So that's lemon balm and chamomile and so on. So that the Digestivo is actually a very nice calming blend, as well as for the tummy. I've got bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, and that's got what we call the adaptogen herbs, and they're the herbs that are ginsengs, and they help with the adrenal glands, so they help you deal with stress. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Because I wish I'd known you when I had my health and wellness centre in Rose Bay, because
yes,
I always offered people a tisane when they came, and one of the staff, we had 20 staff, one of them did a part-time job in T2, and
oh yes,
we at that time you could go in there and go, I need something to relax my clients, and they go, put some of this, put some of that, put some of that, and they were making us different brands, and it was lovely. And before that I worked in Double Bay in John Azzy's hair salon, but I was doing Oxygen Beauty and massage, Reiki, etc. And next to it was a Japanese shop, and they used to sell bases that you could put a candle in and a glass teapot on top of it. And they said, teas are like curries. The longer you leave them, the better the flavor. And they said, you can just keep topping them up all day long. So I was like, wow, this is going to save me a fortune. And I just absolutely loved it. And it was true. The flavor was so beautiful and the effects were, you know, the same. So that was really good. And so do you want to explain some of the trainings that you do?
Oh, thank you. Yeah, with the breathing. Yeah. I teach it in person and online. And Beverly, I know you're coming along, so I'm very excited to meet you in real life.
Yeah.
And the first lesson is 4 hours actually. And in that time, it actually goes very quickly. In that time, even though there's a group, I really personalize treatment. So I find out what people are wanting. So some people come for anxiety, some people come for snoring and sleep apnea, which is a particular interest of mine. And so there are various reasons why people will come. And some people just, as I said, know that their breathing is dysfunctional. So that first lesson is teaching you the exercises, making sure that you know how to do them, and sending you away with homework. And then the following week, you come back, and usually there are some significant changes with people, even in a week. And then I will also teach you the theory. So there are different, I call them pillars of breathing. So there's the biochemical aspect, which basically is concentrating on carbon dioxide. So you mentioned that slowing the breath brings you into that state of parasympathetic or relaxation. It's the carbon dioxide that's doing that. So in the old days, people would breathe into a paper bag when they had a panic attack, and that was recycling the carbon dioxide. So it's improving people's tolerance to carbon dioxide, which will keep them in that parasympathetic area. The carbon dioxide also helps relax smooth muscle of the blood vessels. So this is how it can help with blood pressure and headaches, and smooth muscle of the gut. And then I also talk about, so that's the biochemical aspect. Then there's a biomechanical aspect, which is the diaphragm, which is the breathing muscle, which people don't use. So we talk about how to do that. And it's not just for special people. Say, oh, yes, I do that when I do yoga. It's like, it's not just for special occasions. It is meant to be 24/7. And so teach that and the benefits. And so the diaphragm is an amazing muscle. I just absolutely am besotted with it. And it's, so teaching that, and then the rhythm of the breathing. So the second one is all about the explanation. By then people are really noticing the changes and can institute them at home. And then the third lesson is an online one. And it's a couple of weeks later, and where are people now? Do we need to keep on? The beauty of the Buteyko is that once you have changed the brain, it stays changed. So unlike, physical exercise, where if you stop for a few weeks, you go backwards, with this one, once it's changed, it's changed. And so that's what I love about it too, that it's not something that you have to keep doing forever. Yeah. But people will always be more aware of the breath. As you said, you're aware of it all the time, and that brings that sense of mindfulness. And I like that because some people get scared by the thought of meditation or mindfulness, but this just like it is mindfulness. Yeah. Are you aware of your breathing? You're being mindful.
Yeah. And I've over the years, and especially the last 2 years, both in France and here, I've been teaching people tips that when they're stressed, during lockdown, to set alarms on their phone, and when they see it go off, put in the morning, put random times and random words. So I like to put peace or love or joy, and I'll stop what I'm doing, taking a breath and say, I'm breathing in peace, breathing out peace, but be mindful. I get them to do the stomach breathing, so they're activating their diaphragm and the lower lungs. So breathing in peace, breathing out peace, and then think about, what am I doing right now? Am I approaching it from a peaceful point of view? Or if I approach it from a peaceful point of view, what would I do? So I think it's really important for me anyway, to have triggers to remind myself, stop and breathe. Because as you mentioned, some people are holding their breath, that gentleman on the screen apnea. And over the years, I've had people come to me, but they've got the phone there, the old-fashioned phones, and they're talking and doing things at the same time. We're all masters at multitasking, and they forget to breathe, or someone is annoying them, and they're clenching their whole body, and they're grinding their teeth and at night and things like this, and it's all stress related. And it's like, oh, just breathe and slow down and relax. And people have asked me, look, you've interviewed Patrick, you've read all his books, and now you're going to do the course, and you've done so many breathing courses. And I said, yes, however, we're never too old to learn. And what I like about Patrick's book, he puts absolutely everything in the books, but that you can't beat having a face-to-face or an online like we are, and actually being with someone and practicing the exercises and letting it sink in. And you've always got the books to go back to refer, and to have an expert like yourself to say, Beverly, no, you're actually, as you're breathing out, you're doing this, or, I've noticed you're doing that. So you can't beat having a qualified instructor. And as you just said, the extra bonuses, you will retrain your brain for life. And all this work is science-based. And before I interviewed Patrick, I was researching the Buteyko method. And when the walls came down in Russia, because Buteyko is by a Russian man who founded it, which I know you can explain better. But the first place they brought to in a foreign country was Australia. And they did the research they did trials in the Mater Hospital in Brisbane, even though I think that was in the 1980s. And even though the doctors were very skeptical about these breathing exercises, they did it anyway, and the results were phenomenal. So it's like,
that's right.
And there are amazing doctors here that are trained in this method, and they promote this method. So it's like, why wouldn't you do it? Give yourself, look after yourself, put yourself first, so that you can live your best optimal life and be relaxed and enjoy it. Because so many illnesses, like Patrick said, he was waking up with foggy brain, couldn't concentrate, and lethargic, and so many other symptoms. And like you mentioned, all the symptoms like digestive systems and so forth can be changed through our breath. So I'm super excited, and I know two of my friends are coming and they're super excited. So I look forward to seeing you then. And how can people get...
It'd be lovely to see you then.
Yeah. How can people get hold of you?
Well, my website's mimbeim.com, mimbeim.com, and Mim at Mim Beim, or my phone number, 0411 748 749. Thanks, Beverly.
Thank you. And I'll put it with the written word. And I'll just quickly say, going back to the man at the ABC with the slab of beer a night, my father used to drink probably 20 pints a night in Wales. He wasn't an alcoholic, but in his younger days, that was the culture in Wales, to go to the pub and drink beers. And he used to, all of them used to have a competition. They were young. He was a welder and an engineer. So his excuse was he's working in a hot job, losing a lot of fluid, so he needed it. And I know that culture was here in Australia. And similarly, there's so many... I've been living in France, and their culture is to have a glass of wine at lunch, which when we first went there, it was like, wow, they're having a glass of wine and it's okay to go back to work, on a daily basis. It's like, oh my God. And being in so many European countries, I couldn't believe how they have the siestas in the afternoon, that it's all culture, So I think this breathing technique, however, is revolutionary for all cultures. And I truly believe, you know, we're all connected, we're all one, and we're all breathing in the same air ultimately. So, you know, I say, to me, it's like with Reiki. Reiki is a Japanese word for universal life force energy. And I feel it's in the air that we breathe. So we're connected through divine love, and we can breathe in that love, and it's in every living thing. So I want to thank you for all the wonderful things that you're doing. And is there anything new that you're keeping up your sleeve, or what's next for you?
No, but I want to thank you too, Beverly, because you've got a lovely soul, and it's lovely that you share it.
Thank you.